Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Help Is Here podcast brought to you by the Beyond Compulsion Academy. Today we're talking through a few junky thoughts in the context of people not being able to trust themselves, feeling like they're never actually going to get free of this problem, feeling like they're stuck, feeling incapable of ever breaking out of this porn addiction. It's very, very common. We hear it all the time from
Yeah.
people who either want to work with us or people who have just started working with us. There is a lot of fear here. So, Mary, you've obviously been working in addiction recovery for a long time. Before we get into specific thoughts and we start to talk through them, I want to ask you, have you seen this much in your experience working with other addictions, or do you think it's even more common with the porn addiction?
I think it's common with all addictions because addiction is addiction and junkie thinking is junkie thinking. And so, because it's not coming from like the specific person with their innate qualities that they can't trust themselves, this comes from the addictive part of the mind. It's telling you you can't trust yourself. Because if you can't trust yourself, then you're helpless, right? You're just going to act on it. It's out of your control. When the truth is that you can 100% trust that the addictive part of the mind is going to try to convince you that you can't be trusted, right? Which is calling you untrustworthy, which I mean, if anyone called you untrustworthy, you would be like, oh my God, that's just a huge insult to me, right? Which then, of course, gets into more junky thinking, which is self deprecation, which can also keep people trapped because they feel like there's something wrong with me. It's probably, I'm really fucked up, something's wrong with me. So I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm just going to fail again. It's just a spiral of junky thinking that keeps people from even wanting to try again, right?
Yeah. So you can trust that the addicted part of the mind will try
We'll
and tell
try to
you,
convince you that you can't be trusted.
yeah, will try and convince you that you can't be trusted.
Right.
And one of the ways it
Just
can
doing
do
its
that is,
job.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's just doing its job. And, something we talk about inside the program is, the addicted part of the mind's got one job. Like 24/7, it only has one thing on its to-do list. It wants you to engage in your compulsive behavior. It wants you to relapse. That's its job. So if it can do that by saying to you, you can't trust yourself, you're gonna relapse again. In 2 weeks' time, like this was one for me. I used to do these streaks, the no fat streaks. I used to
Yep.
go like, let's say this was early on. I was like, I'd like get to like maybe day 12, and I was like, oh my God, like day 13 and day 14 is coming up. It's going to be the flat line phase. Like I used to have these different like ideas of these different phases that would come up, and it's like, right, it's going to come up to like day 14, and I'm going to relapse. And then I'd start to experience these urges. I'd start to get all helpless, and then eventually I would go and relapse. It's almost like it became a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that because I
Yep.
told myself that this was going to happen, I ended up believing that was going to happen. Like I let the addicted part of my mind convince myself that I couldn't be
Yep.
trusted and that it was going to
Yeah.
happen. So then I just go relapse in that moment because I didn't
Yeah.
trust myself at all in the future.
Right. Because it leads into the junky thought, what's the point?
Mm, mm,
What's the point? You can't be trusted anyway. You're just going to give in eventually. It just feels impossible. There's something wrong with me. This is just who I am. All of it leads to what's the point? Why even bother trying? You're
mm.
going to relapse anyway. So why put yourself through it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you're going to end up, feeling pretty terrible as well. I think that's the other thing with this
Yeah.
is like that feeling that you can't trust yourself. It's not going to feel good. And that's why I think the process towards getting this freedom, like actually overcoming this properly, is sometimes more important than just the result. We've worked with guys now who have actually overcome just the problem of like watching porn or not watching porn for periods of time. Like maybe they've gone on a streak for a few weeks or months, but they never really trusted themselves. Like they never actually dealt with the addicted part of the mind correctly. And so they
Yeah.
never actually had that real freedom. And then obviously they did end up relapsing and now we're working with them right. But yeah, it's just that lack of self-trust is such a big part of being in the addiction. And the other thing I would say about it is, if you are trying things which which aren't working, and you're diagnosing the problem wrong, and you keep on relapsing, you probably are going to relapse like probably over 100 times until you eventually maybe start changing your thoughts or you start doing things significantly different. And so like you've built up this evidence that you can't trust yourself in the past. So then the addictive part of the mind's going to try use that against you as well. And really what we need to do is outsmart the addictive part of the mind by seeing that, well, in this moment, what am I choosing? Rather than thinking way off into the future about I won't be able to trust myself when I get to 14 days, or way off into the past about this happened in the past, so that means this is going to happen now in the present moment. When actually, you only actually have your choice, you only actually have your power in the moment, like in the present moment. That's where you have your choice to decide for yourself what you're going to do in that moment.
Yeah. And also, just recognizing, you know, up front that you're going to have all this addictive thinking approaching it because the addictive part of the mind doesn't want you to try again. And the thing is that right now, like mindfulness is all the rage, and like you got to recognize you have a mind full of addictive thinking, and you need to learn how to identify and correct that thinking, because you can't just like go, oh yeah, this is what I'm thinking or whatever, and not know how to deal with it, and not know who's doing the talking. Is it your rational self or is it the addictive part of your mind? Because the addictive part of the mind is so deceptive because it really has only one goal, and that's to get you to engage in the addiction, in the addictive behavior to keep you stuck. That's
Mm.
all it wants. And the thing is if you can look at it too, like it's just neural pathways. It's not like this entity that's, trying to do this thing to you or whatever. I mean, in a way it is, you can look at it that way, but it really is changing of neural pathways. It feels uncomfortable because you want to go in a certain direction. Now you're trying to go in a different direction. And that's what the addictive part of the mind, that's its job. That's what it's going to do. And it's going to find any way that it can. It's
Mm.
really quite shrewd, and I feel like sometimes the smarter the people are that we work with, their addictive part of the mind is pretty shrewd as well. But the thing is you can, with the right education, and the right tools, you can still outsmart it and you get
Mm.
free. It is possible, but I really feel like there's so much self blame, that the guys, they are just like, oh, this is my fault. There's something wrong with me or whatever, that is just a spiraling effect, because, oh, if there's something wrong with me, that's why I'm failing rather than the methods are failing you, you
Mm.
know? So, I mean, just know it's not you,
Yeah.
it's the incorrect approach and lack of real education when it comes to how addiction works, in the
Yeah.
mind. I mean, maybe some people have like the scientific evidence of how it affects the brain and all that kind of stuff, but what's always missing is the how am I going to actually change this? It's that's the missing link that we provide,
Mm.
is how am I going to actually change this? And the other thing I think that we've been hearing it more and more and more, is and I just worked with a guy again yesterday who said the same thing, went to therapy. Therapist said you just need to find a way to manage this. You're going to be dealing with this for the rest of your life. And this guy was mad. He was like, no, I'm not going to accept this, like you're going to have to deal with it. He said, I don't want to go to a meeting, I don't want to go to meetings forever and ever, it's like, yeah, you don't have to. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that. But, if a therapist tells you, oh, guess what? It's going to be a life sentence. Well, then you're going to be like, oh my God, what's the point? I'm going to feel
Yeah.
like shit forever, you know?
Yeah. Just a point on that as well is like, if you choose to engage one time, that's what strengthens the addicted neural pathways. And we don't need to go into the neuroscience on this particularly, but it is relapsing which keeps you relapsing. It's a bit like,
Yeah.
what we do is it's a bit like we're training someone to drive a car safely. And, until you've been taught that education, you're going to keep crashing the car. But people out there, like the therapists, it's like they're just letting people drive off into the sunset without actually having any training and going, all right, well, it's okay if you just keep on crashing. It's like everyone else out there is like, yeah, relapse is part of recovery. It's fine. Just learn a lesson, pick yourself up, go again. It's like, no, 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 no. Like
Yeah.
you're relapsing, you've got a problem. That for me was probably the biggest turning point in everything when it came to overcoming this problem because obviously I used to have this podcast on my own. It was called Finally Quit Porn. I was sharing my own journey. I thought I was doing pretty well with this stuff because I was going on these longer and longer streaks. And then you came on the podcast and you were like, wait, Tom, 2 weeks ago on your own podcast, giving people advice on quitting porn, you were like, you said you relapsed, and so you're in an addiction. I was like, Mary, come on, I've just done
Yeah.
90 days. I'm good. Like, yeah, I know I've just relapsed, but I've done 90 days. Like, I'm the guru now, Mary. I'm the master of this. It's
Yeah.
funny looking back. I had to kind of had to sit down a little bit, be humble, and accept. You know what? I'm just going to listen to someone who's had like 35 years plus addiction recovery expert. I'm just going to trust you instead and just put my trust in you and learn this stuff properly. And now it's been, I don't know, maybe a year or nearly a year or whatever. I don't know how long. Don't really care either because my neural pathways have changed at this point. So it's not about like doing 90 days or whatever. It's how do you actually change your neural pathways? Feel 100% confident, feel 100% in control of yourself. And you get there through understanding the addicted part of the mind. Now, going back to therapy, a couple of days ago, I'm talking to another guy as well, actually. He's just joined the program, so we've not worked with him much yet, but yeah, he joined yesterday. And he was saying on our call he'd had therapy for 4 years, 4 years
Mhm.
of back and forth with a therapist. And again, his therapist was just trying to deal with the symptoms, like the reasons, like the trauma, all this other stuff
Yeah.
when he was younger. I asked the guy, so when did you start watching porn? He says, I think it was like, I don't know, 11 or 12 or something, the classic sort of age.
Yep.
Like, well, yeah, and he was really young as well, by the way. He was only 19 at this point. I think he turns 20 in a few weeks, but like
Yeah.
maybe half his life or whatever, he's been wiring his brain to want to consume this content. So obviously his brain's now wired in that way to want it, and he's gonna have these desires.
Yeah.
That's just how his brain's wired. That's not his fault. He
Yeah.
was born into this super messed up world where this happens to people like myself, like him, like millions of others. It's disgusting that this is going on, in my opinion. It's like handing out
Yeah.
heroin to 10-year-old kids. It's a joke, but that's what's going on. It's not funny at all, really. It's
Really is
wrong.
exactly what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I say more about the guy yesterday with the therapy thing?
Yeah, go on,
He
go on.
said, he said, he said, yeah, I would. He said, I don't have any childhood trauma. He said, I had a decent childhood, He said, and he was 12 when he got hooked on porn. He said, but
Mm.
he said, here I am, a 12-year-old boy, and I got like access to porn like everywhere. Well, there's your trauma. It's like getting addicted to porn when you're 12 years old. And he also said, he said, so I tried the therapy, and them telling me that I'm going to deal with this for life. He said, all that did was make me want porn more. And he said, I would leave therapy and I would go home and I would use it. He said he would just binge on it,
Mm,
you know?
mm.
So, yeah. And I told him you had the same experience going to therapy and, going home and using the porn.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I think it almost like compounds that self-doubt and that feeling that you're going to be stuck forever because if you're seeing a therapist and even they're like, yeah, you're stuck in this, like you're going to just have to manage it, you're going to
Yeah.
almost like give up on yourself. And we've got some junky thoughts here from clients and I'd probably say more than half the guys we've worked with have been to therapy at some point. Not
Yeah.
everyone, but probably more than half.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, we hear thoughts like, I'll never get free. This is just who I am. I'm really fucked up. I'm
Yeah.
helpless. I can't help but give in. It's automatic. These sort of thoughts that are really, really self-deprecating coming from the addicted part of the mind. And then if you're going to a therapist and they're saying as well, yeah, you're going to just have to manage this. It's like, it's just adding to the addictive part of the mind, if anything. And the thing is, like, the default, if you're in an addiction, the default is to engage, like, it is to crash, it is to relapse. Like, that's going to keep on going on and on and on until these thoughts are corrected and we have this awareness that it's the addicted part of the mind bullying us, like trying to get us to engage,
Yeah.
we got to answer back. We got to correct it and be
Yeah.
assertive and actually change these thought patterns. And so passively sort of trying to manage and control this problem by distracting, avoiding, removing triggers,
Yeah.
blockers, doing all this other shit, it's just like it's not going to actually deal with that moment when suddenly out of nowhere you've got an urge. The addictive part of the mind says, right, I'm really fucked up. This is who I am. I'm never getting free. I'm helpless. I'm just going to give in. And then eventually you go, you give in, you feel terrible again. Nothing's actually changed. You've just changed some little habits in your environment. Nothing's actually changed in the brain. And then you just
Yep.
wrapped up in this cycle going round and round and round. What we're here to do is give people the right education so they can go, actually, I know what's going on here. This is the addictive part of the mind trying to pull some bullshit on me.
Yeah.
Let's answer it back, correct that thinking, change the way I think, change the way I feel, change the way I act, and actually get to a position where you have permanent mental freedom, get to the other side, which is possible, which is what we're doing with the guys in the program, of course, as well.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, if you, and you, like you said, this, it's the self-deprecation too. It's like every one of these thoughts is like, just like, it's like name calling, you are being bullied. It's like you're untrustworthy, you're flawed, there's something wrong with you, you're really fucked up. It's just who you are. You're just this, mutant, who's just, you're helpless, you're full of crap, you're a coward, you're terrible. It's like literally, this is impossible, I'm incapable, you're not capable. I mean, everything is just like throwing like insults at you. you know it's like,
Mm.
of course you're going to be, this is just going to feed you into like, okay, you're going to go into therapy for life. And the other thing that's probably going to happen if you buy into all this crap and you're stuck with this for life, you're probably going to get prescribed some kind of drug. you
Hmm.
know, it's like, let's just give you a drug to help you numb out and not think about this. Or antidepressants. You're just depressed. Well, fucking A, you're depressed. If you are thinking all this stuff and you're stuck with this for life, you think you're going to be depressed, or
Mm.
anxious. Let's give you anti-anxiety meds. Let's give you antidepressants, right? Crazy. It's crazy, Tom.
It is insane. It's
Yeah,
absolutely insane. And
it is.
also, like, most people are not actually going to acknowledge, like, yeah, the real problem going on here is I was exposed to porn at a young age. My brain
Yeah.
wired to want porn.
Yep.
Instead, it's like, okay, well, you've got anxiety, you've got ADHD, you've got depression, you need to go to the gym more, you need to find your purpose, you need to find meaning, you need to make more money, you need to get more girls, you need to
Yeah,
improve your
yeah,
relationship. All this other random like shit when it's
yeah.
like, no, 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 no. Hold up. Let me actually validate the reality of your situation.
Yeah.
Your problem is porn. Like
It
porn is fucking your life up. That
it
is the
just
truth.
keeps making me think of the teacher on Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. Sorry.
Just a
Yeah, and
nightmare.
the thing is too, is like, okay, yeah, therapy, okay, we can diss on it. We're sorry, therapists, we're dissing on it, but there's a purpose for therapy. There's people that do have damage and need to work through it or whatever, but therapists have some humility, really seriously, when it comes to this addictive, addiction, whatever they're teaching you in school, not happening here. It's like refer people out. We refer people to therapy if they get free of their addiction and they've got some, real old traumas that they need to deal with. Sure, we're going to say, hey, it might be good to hook up with a therapist, but have some humility and stay in your lane. It's kind of like the urologist who's now, treating addiction. Like, hold the
Hmm.
boss. So
Yeah.
yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, a good way of kind of proving that is like we've had like three different therapists get in touch with us lately who are literally talking to people with porn addiction, but they're getting in touch with us and they're asking like for our help. So it's like, yeah, like I don't think therapy is necessarily the answer to this problem. And I don't think it's like people's fault for going to therapy. And I don't really think it's like the therapist's fault necessarily for trying to help with this problem because it's kind of like on a bigger scale. Like people are
Yeah.
misunderstanding addiction. It's like this is this epidemic, and it's true across like all different things. The food and everything else.
Yeah.
I was on a call with a load of people this morning, about 20 people, and they were talking about their coaching businesses and stuff. And there was this woman in there who was too scared to post on Instagram that um, she wanted to help people like sort of get in better shape and stuff. And she was too scared of offending fat people that she was just like resisting actually sharing her honest opinions on things because she didn't want to offend fat people. And she was saying
Welcome to my
how,
world.
yeah, yeah, and it's like it's so common nowadays. It's like this fear of upsetting people. And it was kind of funny, but she said like I don't want to repel people to work with me because I don't want to repel fat people who think it's okay to be fat, basically. And I said to her, well, you know what? You know what repels me? Being okay with being fat. Like, why is that such a controversial opinion nowadays? I know that sounds harsh, but being okay with something that you know deep down isn't good for you, that I'm not down with that. Like,
Yeah.
I've kind of transformed
Well,
my own mindset where I'm just not down with some things.
yeah, well, the problem is the gross misunderstanding about it is the being fat is a symptom. It's like telling a smoker to be okay and accept emphysema. Emphysema, heart disease, symptoms of nicotine addiction. Obesity is a symptom of food compulsion. So why would you tell people to be okay with it? And if people are so damn okay with it, why is there $1 trillion weight loss industry? Why does everyone want to lose weight if it's so damn okay? But the big crime is teaching kids that this is a body type and all this, and they just need to eat healthy and get fit and all this stuff. Because the same guy that I was working with yesterday, who, started the porn at 12, he said he also had food compulsion because his mom was an obsessive dieter. He grew up with that, and that comes even younger than the porn addiction. We're seeing 11, 12. These food addictions, kids are seeing this when they're 3, 3, 4, 5. I mean, even younger, out of the womb with these obsessed moms with the healthy eating and the fitness. It's like, seriously, if you can stop forcing that stuff on your kids because you're creating eating disorders, and get real with your own eating disorder, compulsive eating, and don't pass it on to your kids because
Hmm.
they got nothing to say about it. They don't know. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I think
yeah,
there's such a misunderstanding on so many things, in society
yeah,
nowadays. And I guess what we have is like all these influencers and Instagrammy kind of people who are sort of selling a certain lifestyle and being all glamorous, and they're all
yeah,
bought into like a consumer sort of lifestyle as well, looking all flashy and whatever. And then you've got all this misinformation on dieting, and they're sort of spreading all this bullshit to make a load of money online and whatever. And then you've got all these innocent people who just want to live a normal, happy, healthy life, who are getting
yeah.
caught up in addictions like porn addiction, like food addiction. That's why they're overweight. But I think what I want to get across is that through changing the way you think, you can change any single problem in your life, in my opinion. Like, well, I mean, you
Mm.
can change your response to the problem anyway, especially with consumption anyway. Like food or like porn, you 100% can change those thought patterns, but you gotta get to a position where you actually refuse to accept that which you know deep down is not right for you. And I don't think I got there until you kind of helped me get there, if you know what I mean. Like it was only really when you helped me shine a light on my own problem of actually, Tom, your problem with porn is greater than you think it is. And I really sort of acknowledged all of that through the exercises we did together.
Yeah,
That I went, yeah, you know what? You're right. And then when I started to realize that I could change my brain, and now it's easy for me to say all this shit because I have changed my brain. But now I can look back and go, oh yeah, actually, I wish back then I had have just accepted that there were some problems in my life. I did have many, many flaws. I still do, obviously. I can still work on loads of stuff, 100%. But when it came to compulsion anyway, I wasn't being honest with myself. And
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that there was a possibility for me because the addictive part of the mind had me trapped in all these thought patterns that we're talking about today, all these junky thoughts of there's
Yes.
something inherently wrong with me. This is impossible. I'm just flawed. I honestly, deep down to the core, believe that I had some sexual desires out of control. Like I
Yeah.
felt like there was something intrinsically wrong with my sexual desires, and that this whole thing was a sexual desire problem.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
It was to
Yeah.
do with how my brain was functioning at that point in
Yeah.
time, and those neural pathways can change. And it's the
Thank
same with being
goodness.
overweight. It's the same with being fat. If you're fat right now, like you can change your brain so that you're no longer fat because your consumption habits change. But it all starts in the brain by changing your thinking,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of this whole thing. Really, it's really cool. It's really nice that you can change how
Really
you
cool.
think. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
and then I mean, it literally bleeds into everything. I mean, this is kind of a stupid example, but I have my mower broke down yesterday, right? And I can get like really stressed out about that. And my furnace has been acting funny. And I'm like, oh my God, the furnace, and I'm all on my own. I got to take care of these things in the mower and the things. And then I'm like, wait a second. What you'll do is in the moment, you'll just make a choice that is going to serve the long term, right? You have the ability in the moment to make a choice that's going to take care of whatever the problem is. And then it's like, oh, yeah, okay. If the furnace does in fact go, well, I guess I'll deal with that then. And when the mower did go yesterday, it's like, oh, guess what? I don't have to deal with this mower. I can get a different mower, and did it.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it starts to bleed into everything, and you don't, because you hear so much now about people say I overthink. I'm an over. Well, they don't say I overthink, because we could say I'm wanting to overthink right now, right?
Yeah.
Because there, no, it's I'm an overthinker. This is because this is just who I am. I'm an overthinker. It's like, yeah, well, I could sit there and overthink about, oh my God, my furnace is gonna die, and rather than, oh, yeah, you know what? If it happens, I'll make a phone call in the moment and we'll figure it out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
labeling is not helpful. And there's so many labels now, with people's behaviors. I mean, with the neurodiversity, or what do they call it? Neurodiversity, I guess. There's a whole lot more labels now too.
hmm
You know?
Yeah, yeah. I've had a couple of people this week actually say to me though, yeah, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I am an addict or that something along those lines. And I've said
Yeah,
to them both, wait, hang on. So I had two guys say this. I said to them, hang up, yeah, it's great that you're accepting right now this problem is a lot bigger than you thought it was. We've done some exercises together. You're really accepting this reality. That's brilliant. That's really, really good. But I
mhm,
don't want you using that. I'd rather you use a different bit of language because
yeah,
addict is so
agree.
limiting, like
Yeah,
you're not an addict, man. Like you just have addicted neural pathways right
yeah,
now. Right now.
yeah,
Those
exactly.
those two words are essential because you can apply
Yeah,
everything. If people shifted away from thinking about things in terms of identity to
yeah,
everything being right now, this is
yeah,
what I'm wanting to do or feel or want or whatever, the whole world would change so much. If you're overweight right now, for example, okay, well, let's just shift it like moment by moment. I'm
yeah,
wanting to eat a lot of food right now. Instead
yeah,
of I'm this fat, overweight person, it's just
yeah,
I'm wanting to eat a lot of food right now. All right. And you take that moment by moment, you make a choice moment by moment. Your brain's going to shift, your actions are going to shift, your life's going to change, your results are going to be different,
yeah.
everything's going to transform. That's possible for you.
Well, and two, like now with teaching all the kids, because we've talked about it before, but we have an ADHD epidemic as well. All the kids are ADHD, right? And it's like I hear the parents all the time say things like, oh, well, my son has to have these things just this way. Rather than teaching that kid, oh, you feel like you need to put all the pencils in a line right now, at the art camp or whatever.
Mm,
You feel like that right now.
Yeah.
And you can choose that, but and you can choose to act out on these the way you feel, but then, everything's going to go to hell in this camp. You're probably going to have to, not take the camp, whatever, it's just like, but there's so much where the parents are reinforcing, and probably the kids' therapist too. This is just who they are. This is just what they need to do. They need to wash their hands 17 times, whatever, rather than they feel like they want to do that right now.
Mm.
It's so much more fluid and changeable,
Mm.
than this is just who you are. So many kids are labeled now. It's not helpful because it's gonna follow them into their adult life, and the
Yeah.
choices they make about all the addictions they're going to get exposed, or the addictive behaviors that they're going to get exposed to, you know,
Mm. Mm.
not
100%.
helpful, not helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And like it kind of reminds me of how at school kids are labeled and they're put in different sets. And I remember when I did sociology at school, we talked quite a lot about the halo effect and these different biases that go on in the mind and how that can like really, really impact a kid's overall education and then their future prospects in life and how they feel about themselves and they develop all
Yeah,
these different self-limiting beliefs. And I mean, junky thoughts in a way, there's some overlaps between junky thoughts and self-limiting beliefs. I mean,
yeah,
these ones here on the screen sort of there's something wrong with me, it's too difficult, it feels impossible, maybe I'm inherently flawed, all of this stuff. It's all these beliefs that have built up over time because you've relapsed probably hundreds of times. I mean, I'm very, very happy and open to admit that, yeah, until meeting Mary, it probably had been three, four, 500 times that I'd relapsed, maybe more, after
yeah,
telling myself specifically, I'm never doing
yeah,
this again. I'm gonna
yeah.
quit this time
And
for good.
is it really like, we can call it relapse, whatever, but it is a relapse, I guess. But it's basically because you didn't have the tools, you didn't have the education, so you're just trying to control an addiction, So it's like you're not doing it for a while, then you're doing it, not doing it, then you're doing it, not doing it, then you're doing it, because you're trying to control it, which there's a whole lot more junky thoughts. That's another podcast, that come in with trying to control an addiction, So
Yeah.
it just is, yeah, you might feel like you're kind of, because you go on a streak, you might feel like you're having this control or whatever. That's a whole nother department of hell, just go in
Yeah.
the trying to control it department.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like instead of, passing your driving test and actually driving on the road, it's like going on the dodgems. Do you have the dodgems over in America? The
I don't know what
fairground
that
ride?
is.
The
I don't know what
dodgems?
that is.
Oh, what a classic UK classic like for any of the British guys listening or in the UK. But yeah, the dodgems is like this fairground ride where you're in a bit of like it's a bit like a go-kart sort of stuff, and you're just there like bumping into people, just crashing left, right, and
Oh yeah,
center.
yeah, yeah,
That was me before you. It's just
yeah.
like
Yeah, right.
inevitably crashing. It's like there's no alternative really back then. But
Uh,
um, but
I
yeah,
love it.
anyway,
We have bumper cars.
yeah,
There
yeah, the
there
Dodgems, the
go
bumper
bumper
cars.
cars over here at the fair, where you
That's the
just go
same
and
thing.
you smash into people. Yeah,
I think Dodgems is just like
yeah,
slang for bumper cars. Yeah, I think it
yeah.
is.
I think it's the same thing. Yeah,
Love it.
I
All
never
right.
really got that much of a thrill out of that ride personally, but whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
cool.
typed in
Well, I hope
Dodgems.
this is helpful to people because,
Yeah.
I can just see where, all of this thinking is just going to make you go, just forget it. What's the point? The
Yeah.
point is that you're never going to be happy in an addiction. And your mind isn't going to let you just go, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to live with this. You're going to keep looking. So, just don't be afraid. We can really provide a tool that is, really effective, and you can have a full on education about this so you don't have to be stuck in this. It's just not true. It's not true.
Hmm. For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah, if you are wondering if you are addicted to porn, then check out a link in the description. I'll leave a link to the porn addiction quiz. Thanks a lot for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.